What's going on, everybody? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, and we're here for Deep Astrology. I know it's been gone for a while. It's been gone through the holidays. I want you all to know that I am not the biggest holiday fan. I know some of you all might think, oh yeah, the holidays, the new year. I am just so Jupiter Capricorn kind of guy. I just can't wait for the gears in the world to turn again. I just do, the holidays to me, it's just like everything slows down, everybody takes off, and I just want to keep going. And you want to talk about keep going? Welcome to all the planets direct at the beginning of the year during eclipse time. This is even more potent than 2018's beginning. That's right. Welcome to the week of January 8th through the 14th of 2019. It's great to see you all here in 2019. And I have some really good news for you all. Deep Astrology is still staying free right now because I'm going through some app issues. That's right. For all those that have been on Future Life and everything, I'm coming out with some truth right now that the partners that I've been in bed with for 4 years with the app, we are in the end of our contract. And so I'm debating on whether I'm going to stay with them or not. We've had some complaints of people having customer service issues and so forth. And so before I bring everybody and force people to go on to the network and to have this show, I thought it would be better to just keep this show live and keep going, especially during one of the most important times of our whole entire life. And I have some huge changes when it comes to Future Life and whether or not I'm going to stay with my partners or bring it in-house here with High Vibe Studios, which it looks like it's going to happen, which would mean that there would be about a month left of the old Future Life app and building out another new app and moving everybody over to a whole entire new experience with a community experience in the app, live stream on the app, and a bunch of cool aspects. So lots going on that department. That's just a little announcement there. It's been a while since I saw you all. But why is this week so different and more powerful than the beginning of 2018? Well, one, all the planets are direct now, that's huge. But when you combine that with eclipse season with all the planets that are direct, that's even bigger. Now, yes, all the planets were direct with eclipse season last year. But what was interesting was last year's eclipse zone was in Aquarius and Leo, and this one's with Capricorn with Saturn in its home sign, with Pluto here. This is an extreme, very rare transit that hasn't happened, of course, since the last time was 1517. And this is a big one because this one is about more of the big choices we make in our lives. And especially that big 33 to 35 year cycle of Saturn-Pluto. The last time it happened was 82, 83, and 84, was about relationships and sexuality and our truth and what we want. And that's all coming to a big close. And last year was not. We did not see Saturn and Pluto start to get close. Now we are. So this is starting this whole new cycle. And this is a long cycle that we are closing of the last 35, 36 years as we actually get to the exact conjunction point at the end of 2019 here. But this is even bigger because how many planets are in their home signs? I mean, we got Jupiter in its home sign, we got Saturn in its home sign, we got Neptune in its home sign, we got Mars in its home sign. These are powerhouse planets that are all in their home signs, making this even more of an extreme beginning of the new year with all the planets direct. And when Uranus went direct on Sunday, it was the last time we'll see Uranus direct in Aries for over 70 years. So this is go time more than ever, especially as Mars is in Aries now, and it's squaring Mercury this week, and oh my gosh, it's like we need to make some choices and get on the road here, but Mercury is like wanting to understand a plan and is freaking out a little bit because Mercury, you have to remember, has not been happy for months. Mercury, when it came into Sagittarius, went into a shadow zone where it went retrograde, and then it went retrograde over Jupiter, and then it went over into Scorpio, into the dark world, and had to reveal a lot of truths, but was unsure how to deal with it, and other planets were still trying to come online. And then, of course, it went direct, and then it was in its Sag. We have to remember, Mercury in Sag is at detriment. It's not happy there. And then it came into Capricorn. It had to square over to Chiron, and then it had to come into Capricorn, and here it is squaring Mars, and then it's going to conjunct Saturn this week. These are the two malefics in astrology, especially medieval astrology. And guess what? When it comes to our minds right now and trying to figure out things, they're not easy choices. They're not easy. These are big situations of identity and the path. And the reason why is because this is a time in our lives where this eclipse that just happened this weekend in Capricorn and the buildup to the last Leo and Aquarius eclipse for the next 8 years is really about the world that you really want to have and that true heart and that love that you want in your life. But it's not going to be easy choices because this is about who is stepping up and who is not going to step up. Because when you have Neptune in sextile that we are building with the Saturn sextile Neptune, that's going to be throughout this month and becomes exact on the last week of January. When you have the Sun in this eclipse that just sextiled Neptune. When you have Mercury, which by the end of this week is going to sextile Neptune. This is about stepping up and clearing what is not working. Because Neptune in Pisces rules what is divine and what is actually not divine, what is not working, especially when it comes to what is not in alignment with our soul. This is a very hard thing because it becomes so difficult to push ourselves through very difficult times of making sensitive issues and choices that come up about things that just don't feel like they're in alignment. When it doesn't feel like it's in true alignment, it's clearer than a bell. If Neptune rules patterns. If the same pattern just keeps going on and you're expecting that pattern to change, like Capricorn and Saturn is kind of like looking at it like, sorry, that pattern ain't going to change. The only thing that'll change is when we redirect the ship and come up with a new plan and go and make a choice. And what is Saturn? Restrictive. And when you have the Sun this week, which is going to conjunct Pluto, and this will be the first time that we've ever seen the Sun conjunct Pluto with the South node in Capricorn in our life. We've never seen that before. We've never seen this conjunction point like this because the last time the South node was in Capricorn was 18 years ago. Pluto entered in 2008, so sorry, never seen the extremity of change that is undeniable and death and rebirth that is forced upon us in our life at this beginning of the year. I know it can sound a little scary, but at the end, this is really about the change to make your life go in the true direction. And what makes this even more difficult is Saturn is now starting a semi-square over to Chiron. So when you have Saturn semi-square Chiron, guess what? There becomes this line of like, we've got this road, but we've got this crippling part of our soul that doesn't know how to like let go, or maybe has to go through some sort of pain or go through some sort of weirdness. And we have these weird mental battles going on because of Mercury on the malefics, and just Saturn and Chiron is kind of a weird element too, because you know, Saturn is trying to say, I'm trying to get on the road, but man, why do you keep holding on to these weird little issues and these things that need to get fixed and that you need to move on? Because how are we going to move on if you just keep holding on because of your sensitivity and your compassion, which is, of course, the most beautiful part of the spirituality. But this is where you have to be honest with the integrity of your own self and go, is this situation in my life, is this job, is this relationship, is this direction I'm going, of the integrity in who I am? This is what Mars in Aries is demanding. This is what Uranus in Aries on its last bit. This is the end of Uranus in Aries. It has been the whole decade of the 2010s. Are you going to free yourself to the life that you want, or are you going to hold yourself back? And that one's a really hard one, because when we look at this way that all this astrology has been set up, it's been set up for us to go to our ultimate spiritual mission. And I know that I might sound like a delusional, crazy motherfucker, but this is the biggest moment in astrology's history of astrology, period. And I say that because the last time Saturn and Pluto conjuncted in Capricorn, and why is that such a big deal? Number one, Saturn's in its home sign. And when you add Pluto, which is like a multiplier, which is like an extreme supercharger on top of it, we weren't aware of Pluto in 1517. We didn't even know there were outer planets. Although in sketches in the Hermetic alchemy world, they used to put these three rings, these three barriers around outside Saturn, and they put angels around them. Some of them they put devils too and weird stuff, but they used to put this kind of like ethereal outer realms. And it was so weird in all these pictures. They had three realms. How ironic that we ended up finding three planets between 1517 and 2019. Now there's that fourth planet, which looks like a lot of people are starting to say it possibly is out there, or it is a planet. There's a lot still that's unknown about it, but we are at a point to where we've never been aware of Saturn and Pluto conjunctions, number one, especially in Capricorn. And this one is so intense because it's at a time in our lives where we have to make a big change. It is the Tower card in tarot. And I think it's also with the Death card too, right? And the reason why this is the biggest astrology of all time that has ever been seen is not only because we didn't know about Pluto and now it's on top of Saturn in its home sign, but in 1517 we didn't see it with Jupiter in its home sign, the biggest planet. And so you start adding all these equations up and you go, this is the fork in the road. You either go on the path that you're destined to with your life calling, and that you look at your patterns and what's not working and what doesn't feel right and what feels off. We just finished a 6.4 year crazy Scorpio karmic transit. On Monday, when Venus entered into Sagittarius, we have now exited karmic transits in Scorpio for 8 years. And the next karmic cycle will be the next Venus retrograde in 8 years. But that's an inner planet, and that's a personal planet. So it's not as big of a karmic transit like Saturn, which won't be in there for at least 2 more decades. Or if we look at the outer planets, which won't be in Scorpio for 40 years with Uranus. So when you actually take a look at this Scorpio energy, the last 6.4 years was the eclipses with Saturn there, Mars retrograde, which won't happen for decades in this space. Of course, Venus retrograde. It was insane, and it was Saturn and Pluto in '84 that were in Scorpio that also kind of went through that whole entire zone and really made all this huge karmic old school energy all come to this completion point as Saturn and Pluto are starting to meet in 2019. So Scorpio's done. So if it doesn't feel like all in, like you would die for it, literally, like when people start talking to me about jobs, like, yeah, I don't know, I'm in a job. Or if they're in a relationship and they're like, yeah, it's like, it's cool. But I don't, it's like, if it's not like fucking, yeah, this is the fucking huge moment of life, then what are you doing? This is the Saturn Chiron semi-square. I'm gonna like kind of hold on to like, I don't know, be crazy. Oh man, that's the funny thing about life. You can't be hard on yourself about it though, because these are not easy times, especially when the sun conjuncts Pluto this week. The truth is being revealed this whole week. The truth is getting down to the bottom of things this week. And when we get to the bottom of things, holy moly, it is not a very easy thing because Pluto is extremely harsh in its sense of truth, especially in Capricorn, about what you need to change to get on the path. And then you have Mercury squaring Mars this week for a lot of the week, which means that we have to confront issues and communicate about them and make some sort of figuring out. We have to figure out a plan, and you got to have those tough conversations about what is not working in order to fix things to get on the road. And especially when we look at the moon, right? The moon is in Aquarius, then coming into Pisces, and the biggest transit of this week isn't just the Sun and Pluto conjunct with the South Node, which we've never seen in Capricorn in our lives, of extreme change and all that, but it's Jupiter in its home sign, squaring Neptune in its home sign on Sunday for the first time since 1852 and 1853. You want to talk about it? I mean, I went live a little later tonight because Trump was talking. I'm not going to go compete against everybody getting lost into that whole debacle and battle. Everybody is on one side or the other, and I'm not saying which side I don't believe or any side or whatever. I'm just laughing at everything going on because this is all combined to what happened in 1852 and 1853 when Pierce was president and the division of the country. It's a cycle of everybody's beliefs being at a delusional battle. One side thinks they're delusional and the other side thinks they're delusional back. And I just laugh and sit here and watch Jupiter and Neptune square because we have that own battle in our own self. If we go on the journey in this way, are we dumb? Or if we don't go on the journey, are we dumb because we'll regret it for the rest of our lives? And so this is your biggest belief battle you will ever go through in your life. In your life, because it will never happen again after 2019. You will never see in your life again Jupiter in its home sign square Neptune in its home sign. And we're seeing the first hit of this on Sunday. And before Sunday, the moon will be in Pisces, conjuncting Neptune, squaring Jupiter, almost exact, within a half degree. When we do the charts in a little bit, I will show you how intense this is going to be. To break all this down before we go into the charts, you have to realize we're going to go into this extreme, I guess you could call it the ultimate fate rite of passage in life. Right now, we're in between eclipses. We have the most extreme transits we have never seen in our lives. And what was interesting about Jupiter squared Neptune in Sagittarius and Pisces, which happened in 1852 and 1853, is they had just found Neptune in 1846 through 1848, and then in 1848, Neptune went into Pisces. So they actually knew about that transit, but I don't know if anybody really was recording it, or maybe anybody was, because you have to remember they found this planet and they didn't know much about it, right? Because the guy who found it, who actually owned a beer brewing company, and then used that money to fund for his telescope to find Neptune. It's not like that word spread real quick around the world as far as the descriptions or knowing what Neptune was and knowing exactly how the planet was. What was it, gas? Is it water? I mean, they had a lot to try and figure out for a while consciously. And so now that we know everything about Neptune and we know the patterns, what is Jupiter doing in square to it? It is inflating the patterns of wisdom for you to see bigger than ever, or you are doubling down and you are going to ride your patterns harder than ever. I'm going to keep doing the same thing. This cycle and this situation, this job, this relationship, this situation. And talking about relationships, Venus now is in Sagittarius. So now you have to start to look at everything in the journey and where your relationships are going, and if this journey is going to meet up, and where's Venus going to start to head towards the square to Neptune as well. And if you look ahead, when we have the lunar eclipse on January 21st, is that Venus and Jupiter conjunct square Neptune? Oh, it is. So this is also the buildup in our projects and our relationships of, are you going to double down in a belief system or a journey in this direction in these projects and relationships that are a continuous little pattern and go down that same pattern? Or are you going to go down a completely different one and have to trust an ethereal sense of a universal divine, purpose that's unseen, that's scary because you don't know what's on the other side? And with the Sun and Pluto this week, during the same time as a Jupiter-Neptune square, guess what? You already know. But it's denial at its highest form. And so this is about not denying and having very hardcore, truthful realities with Mercury on both malefics, Saturn and Mars, especially in medieval and traditional astrology. This is extreme because this is about to help us grow. To help us grow to identify ourselves better and to help us grow to make sure that we're on the right tracks in our life. But it is not going to be like some beautiful, messenger that shows up like with, some wings on and, like a Victoria's Secret model, like, hello with the wings and like, here's your message. Like, it's showing up a little bit more like, I don't know, like a hermit coming out of like a thing out of, I forgot that movie when I was a kid, Willow, like out of a tree, like, hello, here's your message. Like, like, okay, whoa, what is this shit? But it makes sense, like, this is a little bit like Willow, if you ever watched that movie. It's an old movie, which I think ironically enough was during the time of Saturn Pluto. And so we have to not be afraid now to confront our own deception to our own journey. That our sensitivities, our guilt, our feelings that come up about, oh, like I am not a good person if I go this direction. But with the nodes in Cancer and Capricorn, you have to face emotional aspects. That's where the North Node is. And what is true comfort? Is comfort going to be in jail, or is comfort going to be on a mission? Is comfort going to be on a feeling that you're on your true path, or one where you're not and just in an old past life cycle and you just want to go replay VHS tapes of your past lives over and over again? Why not? Do you want to just keep relearning the same lesson over and over again and then being upset about it and not going into this new world? Because this is the last, like I would say, 35, 40 days here. This is it. You will never in your life see all the planets in their home signs like this again with eclipses. Done. I'm not saying every planet, but you're not going to see Jupiter in its home sign with Neptune in its home sign again at the beginning of a year with all the planets direct. You are never going to see in your life again Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn during a Renaissance period that happened the last time in 1517 and getting on your path with a sextile to Neptune in its home sign, exactly with Saturn sextiling Neptune in its home sign. That's even bigger of a transit that we haven't seen. Because you would have to go back to the 1800s and see if Saturn was in Capricorn and try and find that alignment. So this is it. It sucks because, there's no coincidences, but when you think about eclipses, and you think about this South Node eclipse in Capricorn, South Node eclipses are about endings. We always want to look forward to the new beginnings, but it's really like you can't go anywhere till you end something. And so this is hard because also, what does Capricorn rule? It rules time. So the time now is extreme, and there is no, even though everybody likes to put Capricorns as patient and all this stuff, no, Capricorn wants to get that motherfucker done. So this is a time in your life where it's like the sand is like at the end. And when you have the sand at the end and things start getting, we can feel extreme pressure on ourselves because we feel like we can't control every situation. All we can control are the things that aren't working anymore. And so I think it's super important for everybody to start to think about this. All you can control is what works amazing. What makes the most sense in your spiritual self and your intuitive self. That's all that makes sense. If there's patterns that just keep showing up where it's not what you are as a true soul, that's all you can control is letting go of those problems. And I think it's when you actually step forward and go, I am looking at this pattern, it's not working out for me, and I'm just going to end it now. No matter how harsh it might seem, no matter how scary it might seem, no matter how emotional it might get, it really is pretty why even waste your time anymore? Because the stress you're dealing with in your life is because you keep holding on. I always look at, especially Chiron and Pisces, as this little, I guess in the health community they call them parasites. We have these parasitic parts of ourselves that we are attaching ourselves to situations that are not feeding us back fully. But we feel obligated to allow the parasitic energy of, it's not them or that job or that situation, it's ourselves being parasitic to ourselves by feeling obligated to continue to be in our lives with situations that don't really make sense. Because when you look out at the future, this is a very futuristic time. When you get Jupiter in its home sign square Neptune, I'll say the most positive part about this is you can see the future. You could see through the veils. You can see through it all. Put every situation that's serious in your life right now and apply it to this lens, to the future. Are you going to make it to the top, to the best part of your whole life with that situation? Are the signs showing that it's just fuck yeah, motherfucker, all the way? Remember, Mars is in Aries, so the warrior call is going on. Or do you feel like you're about to go into battle and it's going to be like, oh God, if I put that guy next to me or that person or this thing and, oh man, I'm unsure. They might not be, I don't know if they're going to have my back, or I don't know if this is really going to go good. It's pretty clear. Right now, there's a time where signs are so clear. All you got to do is look through this lens, though, of the future. And start putting that, whether you call it that slide in of those situations in your life and go, and look through it and go, yeah, look at how it's all connecting in the right space. And then put another slide in and go, gosh, look how this is just all aspecting to exit stage left and pull off the road and turn in the rental car, and turn things in because I'm not going to be driving this thing on the road to my destiny. Have you ever noticed rental cars feel very weird? Even it doesn't matter if you buy the nicest one for 3 days at Enterprise or anything. They don't feel like it's your car still. But when you have your car, and it could even be older and not as nice, it feels nicer when you get it washed and clean because it's you, right? It's yours. It's your divine connection to it. I know it's a stupid analogy, but you need to start looking at life and look at these relationships, these jobs, these projects, the way you're going in your life and going, does it feel like a rental car? And I know that might sound like a harsh thing, but I'm using analogies to help people understand what choices to make. Or does it feel like it's just fucking yours and it's all in and it feels great and it feels like, fuck yeah, I'm riding into the sunset of my beautiful journey of the biggest universe ever? Or is it just something that's kind of like hanging on for the ride or going along with this weird not understanding, but kind of like, oh, I don't know. When you start getting into that, oh, I don't know, guess what? That's got to go. That's what this harsh time is clearing out your shit. And being empathetic about it, though, and caring about it, and having integrity about it, and being like, I'm putting this down, or I'm taking out of this situation, or I'm cutting this, tie off, or this cord of this partnership, and shaking hands and being cordial and moving on. That's what Capricorn is. You have to learn to be a politician during this time. How are you going to make it to the best part of your life if you don't know how to be a politician? And I don't even like to bring that up. Maybe because in Chinese I'm a rat. So, we make good politicians and we know how to move and groove, and we know how to convince the ox to win the race for us because we have the ox run as fast as we can, then we jump in front of the ox and we win the race. But that's how you get where you got to go. And even though that's why Capricorn gets this harshness, is because it does have to deal with winning. And when you deal with Aries, it's winning. Are you going to win in your life? And I'm not trying to sound like Charlie fucking Sheen here, okay? It's not like I'm fucking all hyped up on some crack I just smoked and I just didn't fucking, come out here and say motherfucking tiger's blood and winning. But there is a little bit of that energy going on right now. So actually, not that I'm channeling a little bit of Charlie Sheen right now, but right now, if any time there would be some tiger's blood that's needed and some winning in your life, it would be about the choices you're making about right now, and stop going through the fucking shitstorm of being involved with situations that fucking don't make any sense. Because we're getting to the end of fucking Pisces Chiron and we are going crazy. Because we're crazy to not go on the best road of our lives because we're just going to sit into some bullshit that we don't understand. That just doesn't make sense, that just makes us feel empty. No matter how much you could talk it up, there's still something missing. Now that the Scorpio energy is over, you know the truth. And that's why I've said, and I should have just ended this whole entire deep astrology and said, you already know. But the fact is that even when you already know, everybody, including myself, is scared to do it. Because to go to this new place, this new world, we all can't bring in our shit to create a new world. We all cannot bring in old patterns and situations and projects and people and all these things that don't connect with who we are. It is a little bit of the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can put it on other people. But if everybody's not gonna step up and learn to really own, they know who they are and what their destiny fulfillment is and what's aligned with that and what's not, then how could you even call yourself, I'm not going to even say that, but I'll say it in the truth. How can we call ourselves spiritual? How can we really call ourselves spiritual? And I think being spiritual is about learning the lessons and our fuck-ups in life and our things. But if we're really going to change the world like all the spiritual community talks about, and even the religions talk about, it's okay, you sinned. Just tell Jesus that he'll be forgiven. I mean, how much longer do we just keep fucking up and forgive ourselves till we get to the point to where, when are we going to start to show the world and show ourselves and show God that we aren't a fuck up? That we are somebody who finally knows, all through the ascension of this last couple thousand years of the age of Pisces, that knows how to be invigorated in the truth of what being spiritual is and owning it and knowing what is not aligned. That is what spirituality is. That is what synchronicity is. Alignment or not. So if it's not aligned and it's not making sense and everything's not flowing, out! It's not that that's like a hard thing, but for some reason we're all caught up in this like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that shit. Well, then why are we even in the whole spiritual community trying to do spirituality? Makes no sense to me at that point. That's what doesn't make sense, is a bunch of misaligned people trying to say that they're aligned. This is the ultimate test. There is no more training wheels. This is what all these planets, and this is what the universe is saying. No more training wheels. We want to move into the age of Aquarius, don't we? Do you think that moving ages gives you training wheels for that long? This whole decade, this whole millennium of the 2000s has been training wheels. But they're off now, and it's going to be scary. It's going to be a little wobbly on that bicycle. And mommy and daddy aren't going to be able to hold you because they're going to have to let you go at one point. And you got to think of yourself as not only you on the bike, but you as mom and dad letting go. And that's the only way to get on this path. Because really, when it comes to the stuff that are patterns that don't make sense, that you're going to have to confront, that you're going to have to deal with, that you're going to have to shed in order to move forward, guess what? That's what's called growing up. And it's really, when you step up to it, you'll realize it's not that hard of a situation. Neptune's trying to show us, if we show up and we let go and we are aware of what's not aligned, we're fine. But it's when we step back, Neptune is the other part, where we step back and go, wait, I don't know. We're not in alignment, and nothing can actually go to the fate train of our true life and self. We're going to look at the charts now. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot to think about, number one, is a lot of that alignment stuff, synchronicity stuff. That's super important. And, today's brought to you by Sprite. But don't freak out at this time in your life. It's not a time to freak out. It really isn't, because If you get too freaked out about things, you're sitting behind. Like Capricorn and Cancer want to actually get you to the best place, whether that's emotionally or whether that's in attainment or recognition in your life or achievement. Can we actually zoom this one in a little bit more? Thank you. We're like doing super live and raw today. Yeah, you can bring it in all the way. Yeah, you can keep going. You can keep coming. Yeah, there, and then you can bring it down just a little tad. We're training Jordan. Jordan's new to the Leo King Inc. Everybody can't see him. He's behind the camera now. And Craig, who's been running this, is sick. So everybody send Craig some love because he woke up with bad sore throat and everything. So he couldn't be here today. Thank you. Jordan, you're the man, dude. That was great. And so that's the thing. Let's use this for an example. Instead of me looking at it and being like, that camera's so far away, it's not going to make sense. I'm not going to be scared, and I'm just going to say it even with live and people watching. Hey, Jordan, can you move and realign the camera? And look what happens. Now everything's working. Now we can look at the first chart. So today is the 8th. And I want to just show you the build-up. And I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to try and rush this because there's a lot of things going on right now. But look at this Jupiter here at 13 degrees, right? And here is Neptune at 14-15. So we're within less than a degree of Jupiter-Neptune square this week. This is where these beliefs are coming up, okay, against these patterns, and it's the oversensitized energy. It's like too much. Jupiter just amplifies everything. And so there's a part of this where, like, we need to really be wise and understand a higher calling, or be students to our own demise. I like that. So we could be wise ones of a higher calling, or we could be students to our demise. And as we're building up, it's the Sun-Pluto conjunction. Look at that, 18 and 20 today. So within the next 2 days, we have Saturn and Pluto, and we have Mercury, of course, which, if I get rid of this here, we have Mercury, which is squaring over to Mars. Bam, 6, 5, we just, this is a big deal. Because now we're being forced to look at things clearly in our head and make a plan and start to figure out how to fix those things. And so don't be afraid of that, you know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch coming this week, but don't be afraid of it. Like, this is what we've been waiting our whole lives for, to get to the greatest spots in our journey. But you got to make change. This is definitely not a time where you can just say, no, I'm doing great and everything's fine and I don't need to make any changes in my life right now. So let's go to the next chart, which is on the 9th, Wednesday. We are going to have the moon come into Pisces. So with that moon in Pisces, there it is. It's going to be very interesting because what's it doing? Not only is it going to square Venus that just came into Sag, which is going to bring up a lot of weird emotional situations about trying to understand the new directions that we are taking with relationships and projects and even our self-worth and what feels in alignment or not. But with this element, we do have the question mark of the moon now with Neptune and with Chiron and Pisces and with this Venus-Jupiter, which is this bright energy, right? These are the two bright stars that are actually planets. And then we have this moon, which is going to illuminate the confusion and fog. But Wednesday, I think, is a very weird in-between day because you get the sun 1 degree before Pluto. Then you have Mercury, which has come off the square to Mars, even though Mars is still going pretty quick, but Mercury's faster than Mars. And you get this really weird vibe kind of going on of something's about to hit. because I'll show you right now, and you can keep it on this, Jordan. So on January 10th, bam, this is when shit, I don't want to say hits the fan, but this is going to be the most that we'll ever feel Jupiter square Neptune for the first time in our lives. We'll actually feel it because the moon will be conjunct Neptune and it will be squaring Jupiter at 1350. And look at that Neptune, 1418, 1350. We're only 20 minutes in geometry speaking, which is extremely tight orb of Jupiter square Neptune. And usually the exact is always kind of the energy that kind of, I guess you could say it like kind of falls, like, I don't know, after Jupiter, like when it's exact, you know, there's that element of it happened. But it's right before it's exact, the buildup of transits when you feel it the most. And with the moon right before the exact conjunction within 20 minutes, squaring this spot, this starts to question and doubt and bring up the sensitivities. And what is exactly happening as well on that day? Oh, the sun's going to conjunct Pluto. Oh my gosh. We have to make a big change with Jupiter squaring Neptune and the moon covering it. I am calling Thursday extreme plus. I'll just put I'll even throw in something else here. We'll do some extreme plus. I didn't even spell plus right. Oh my gosh, that is huge. That is gnarly. I even put gnarly here. Gnarly, dude. Some gnarly shit going down. And I think that that's the scariest part, is we cannot be afraid of all this stuff, and we can't be afraid to really make changes. Or are we going to double down and be a student of our demise? Or are we going to be a wise person who sees a higher calling? And when it comes to higher callings, it means we have to go on the higher calling. It just doesn't mean that it's all figured out. It means that we have to go on an adventure. What do you think Jupiter and Sag is? What do you think Saturn and Capricorn is? It's a fucking amazing adventure. The ultimate dream of an adventure of all time. Of all time. All time. Why do you think people were going west in Jupiter square Neptune to go get gold, the dream of all time, or to go west to get the hell out of all these rules that were happening on the East Coast, and there was all these religious aspects, and people wanted to go be cowboys and cowgirls and go out and go gamble and go have prostitutes, and it was like, go drink whiskey all day or whatever. And now there's some dark, bad aspects to this, but there was the element of I need to get the fuck out of this place. That was Jupiter square Neptune in 1852, 1853. And it's going to feel like division in every part of your life, whatever you're facing. Unfortunately, that's, I think, what the hardest part about all this is the division element. Because even though we're all spiritual tribe in the same one, it's going to feel like a bomb exploding, because when atoms divide, that's how the atom bomb was splitting an atom. And there's times in life where the atoms need to split in order to create a combustional element to make change or to make something extremely radical. And there's that element to things about afraid of making extreme change in so many ways. So January 10th's no joke. And those people born on January 10th and 11th, holy mother, what a chart to have for your solar return. So Friday, I think we're going to have to get to this. So yeah, Friday here on January 11th, the Sun and Pluto are done. So you'll have seen and faced a lot of the changes, and Jupiter square Neptune is now getting intense. Jupiter will come to 14 on Friday and start to square to Neptune, but the moon will start to come over Chiron. And this is where guilt can come. This is where you're feeling like it's such a hard thing. So it might be kind of a hard day, especially with Mercury starting to conjunct Saturn. Like, I've noticed, and this might sound really crazy, but literally since the week before Christmas, every weekend we have come into on the Friday into Saturday has been horrible, not like typical, yeah, it's the weekend, yeah, it has been just kind of poopy vibes. And the only time it becomes extreme is when people fall into this Piscean Chiron of like escapism. But if you don't stay in the place of escapism, and you stay in more of a place of like, I'm healing through the wounds of my awareness of mastering what a higher calling is and doing what is being called to me and owning that space and sitting with that space and being present in that space, instead of avoiding the issues and going out and having a weekend where you just avoid it. Oh, me and the girlfriends are going to go out and we're going to go to Vegas, or we're going to go here, or we're going to go there, or we're going to not do this, or me and the boys, we're going to go here and we're going to go snort this and we're going to go do that, or we're going to do this. It's like, is that really doing the awareness part of like moving into your biggest quest right now? This is also Capricorn, so it's work time. It's time to do the work. Now, coming into the weekend, it is pretty intense because we are going to have the moon, which is going to move into Aries during this Jupiter-Neptune square. So on January 12th, we got the moon conjunct Mars. This will be the first time we've seen the moon conjunct Mars in Aries in a couple years. And we are going to feel this really intense. And it's going to be squaring the Mercury-Saturn conjunction, which kind of brings an element of like, this weekend is not about going and having a crazy wild party. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, it is just not. It is about preparing for the new changes that have shown up. Jupiter is squaring Neptune at 14 and 14. The exact conjunction happens Sunday, but Mercury will be on Saturn Sunday. But this is about the willpower that's going to be building this weekend of moving into the new world, the new life, the new you. And so, but with the squares to Capricorn, it's important for you to like have a plan, stay tailored, stay in alignment, stay on the focus of a higher calling instead of kind of losing yourself in this old wound or, you know, getting too emotional and then pulling out into your own kind of thing. And it's Mercury square Saturn can be very depressing, I'll be honest. But it can also be very focused on, this is the life I'm doing now. This is the stuff I'm going to do. And with the moon on Mars, square Mercury Saturn, this could be, you know, the party could be about building your new life, even though there's going to be some trauma involved. But there is an element of it, like, let's get it going. Let's figure this out. Let's make this decision. Let's do this. So if you're ready to make decisions and building your life and getting on the quest and packing for the voyage, this is it. So this weekend is either you excited about packing or you choosing not to go on the journey and just fucking go bail out. I'm not going to deal with it. I don't want to go on my big quest. So I'm just going to go, I don't know, wherever. And then you think it'll be exciting, and then it probably won't turn out exciting. And then you'll be like, shit, I should have packed. Should have, like, gone on this big new mission. Last two charts and we're done. So the exact square on Sunday, January 13th of Jupiter and Neptune is exact for the first run. We're going to have it again with a retrograde and then again with the direct motion. Because Jupiter is going to come back to, ironically enough, 14. So it's interesting that Jupiter as well is starting to enter shadow as the time it's squaring Neptune. Because Jupiter is going to come to 24 degrees and then come back all the way back to the spot. So it's important to note as Jupiter's crossing over into shadow, this is the moment where Jupiter is not in shadow as it squares Neptune of the biggest calling of your adventure of your life, because we're never going to see this in our life again. The next time that Jupiter squares Neptune will be both times in shadow or a retrograde, which you will either look back when Jupiter squares Neptune when it's retrograde this summer and go, oh my God, I'm on my mission. Thank fucking God. That at the beginning of the year, I fucking did that shit. I went and I did it and I really did it. You'll look back and you'll be so stoked. Or it'll be the opposite. You'll be like looking around at your life and be like, I am in a fucking tornado. I am in a hurricane. What the hell? How did I get here? And it will all point to this weekend of what you chose to do. I know that sounds extreme. I know it sounds like, what? This motherfucker's crazy. I'm telling you, you'll look back in the summer and go, or for those in Australia, you look back in the winter and go, oh my God. And I would hate to be an Australian going through this, because when it's July and all these, when Jupiter's retrograde and it's starting to square Neptune again, like, you don't want to be in the cold and be like, oh my God, this really sucks. And at the same token, the moon is going to be squaring the Sun-Pluto aspect at the same time and demanding, as the moon will be at the midpoint between Mars and Uranus, saying, hey, are we going to remember, Uranus rules the heavens. Are we going to heaven with what we want in our life, with what we need and with the mission and getting the troops going and getting our thing going, or not? Like, are we doing this? Like, it's hard. This is definitely not a time. There's no air energy. No air. This is not about going off what you think is logical. Mercury's on Saturn, so it's very, very debilitated. It's having to look at facts that only make sense for the road and that are physically making sense for the long term. If it doesn't make sense for the long term, out. Restrict it, pull it out. Even though if you logically think you can figure it out some other way, or you think you can do some other thing, sorry, Mercury and Saturn is getting the truth. Yo, this is all that's going to work. Here it is. So there's no logical energy through it all. There's none. None. We have Venus starting to trine Mars. That's going to be next week. Which shows you, if you choose this weekend on the mission of your life, no matter how much change you got to do, no matter what is not in alignment, and going into full alignment, if you can go into full alignment by this weekend, and I'll show you Monday here. When we come into Monday, the moon comes into its exaltation of Taurus, so we add a very high quality aspect to that. We have all these, Jupiter's in its home sign, squaring Neptune in its home sign, Mars is in its home sign, we got Saturn in its home sign, we got the moon in its exaltation. This is some good energy, and the moon will cross Uranus. So that Monday, you are either going to heaven or feeling like you are going, I don't want to say to hell, but with Uranus, it's either like a breakdown or a breakthrough. You are breaking through, or you feel like you missed, I don't want to say missed the boat, but you feel like you chose not to put all the pieces together. And so, but I will just give you a little precursor to the next week. So if you make this big choice by this weekend and you really get on the train, especially, this is what's coming. The sun's coming towards the nodes. Mercury's coming towards Pluto really fast. Mercury's at full speed, remember, because it's coming up to the sun. It's like trying to catch up to the sun. What else? Mars and Venus. Yeah, Mars and Venus are going to start trining, which is awesome in fire signs. And especially when the moon comes into Leo and makes a grand trine of fire with the moon, Jupiter, and Mars after the lunar eclipse that's coming on January 20th. I'm telling you, 21st, I'm telling you, this huge lunar eclipse has amazing elements to it, and it will also be squaring Uranus. And that is whether or not we are going up to a higher place and elevating, or we are choosing to not elevate. And that's how I'm going to end this report today, is we're going to end it with this. We can look at the destiny, we can look at all the things I have tried to prove for a long time on this show, mathematically, historically, physically in the charts, channeling. I have done everything I can in my world for 7 years. Every day, coming up in April, it'll be 7 years to get people to this point. If there was any time in life, out of every horoscope I've ever done in my life, which is almost 7,000 videos, I will tell you this: don't miss this. Don't be scared. Go to only what feels purely in alignment. Because this lunar eclipse that's building up is going to square Uranus, and it's at the first degree of Aquarius and Leo, which is the ultimate degrees of the world and the heart and the excitement of this Mars, Venus, and fire signs, with Mars in its home sign. And we've got Jupiter square Neptune of the ultimate futuristic adventure of all time, or the demise of being a student. I mean, I cannot preach this any higher. So, if it doesn't feel fully divine, it's not. Pretty simple. But yet, if you try to think about divinity and try and think about what is divine, now you're interrupting divine order. Because when you try to understand it and think about it and process it, now you play mind games. Well, this situation could maybe go, it could, or this could, or did. Now you are out of alignment. So, I'm going to end with that. Make sure that you get my January horoscope. It is awesome. You can find it at theleoking.com. And, of course, I'll be doing readings. I gave everybody the Future Life news. If you're just getting live, Future Life is in a very interesting space. Of course, if you still have the app, still subscribe, please. But I'm not putting deep astrology on there yet until I figure out if we are going to change backends and app and my partners, or if I'm going to take on the app fully myself here at High Vibe Studios and create a new app and a whole different program and a whole different subscription model, because there's some issues that have not been addressed for years. And as the Capricorn energy of integrity is up, even though it's not my fault, it's like, I have to own it. It's my choice to stay in alignment if it's not going to get fixed with people who aren't going to fix it. And I'm not making that choice. My contract's up, and but in Capricorn, and this is a good lesson for everybody. You got to still do things with integrity, and you got to do things like with setting, parameters, and do things. You just don't say "fuck you." It's like been set up already. Everything's been kind of set up, so there's already enough. Whether you call it evidence with Pluto, there's enough things to kind of present your case of not alignment, and then there's enough that shows you right in front of you what's totally in front of you that's in alignment. It's just about shifting things. So intuitively, and from what everything shows, it looks like Future Life's going to move to a whole different new network. The subscribers will move over. I don't know, though. We'll see the randomness of the universe. But I've given that last call of talk to the last people about it, because if this ain't changing in all the way it's working, I'm pulling out and building a whole new platform, and more of a community-based platform that I want anyway. And with more functionality that I want too. So, and mixing that with High Vibe. So, yeah, anyway, there's a lot going on. And anyway, I will see you all next Tuesday. I'm sending you my best. Get that January horoscope. if you want to find out more about this month and how extreme this goes, where I go way deeper for 2 hours, go check it out, theleoking.com. And I will see all of you on Tuesday next week.